welcome to A Simple Life. I'm going to show you what I've been feeding some of my plants. We call it weed juice. Before we do that, let me show you a little bit of what's growing in my garden and how my plants have reacted to being given weed juice. Once again, this is a test bed. This is me trying to figure out how to market garden, how things are going to grow in my soil, how to work soil blocks, because until you get out there and fail, well, it's really hard to actually learn anything. All the book smarts in the world will not teach you what happens when you get off the couch and life punches you in the face. And so this season, I've had a few punches in the face. All right, well, let's take a quick look at the garden and then I'll show you how to make weed juice. Here's what we have behind us. We have our lettuce bed. This has been an ongoing progress. I've actually planted some more red romaine along the edge and some more Napa cabbage at the end. You can see the little green dots down there because my Napa cabbage just didn't make it and it actually just went to seed. What happened is the slugs ate it over and over again. And when I finally got the slugs under control, well, it just went to seed. It just started throwing out flowers and that was the end of it. So what we have is red romaine, then we have some iceberg lettuce. Some of it didn't come up. That has to do with germination and a lot I've learned about doing seed blocks and when to plant the seed blocks once they've started taking off and all that kind of stuff. I've learned so much this season. And then on the edge, we have butter lettuce. And we've harvested some of the butter lettuce and some of the butter lettuce, well, it's still thinking about coming up. Not sure what's going on with that. But I have a bunch of flats over here of stuff I've already started. And some of that is going to be more butter lettuce, some more iceberg lettuce, a bunch more Napa cabbage, all kinds of good stuff. All right, as you can see behind me, we have our cabbages coming up over there and they look beautiful. Our celery is looking amazing and it's that dark green because of that weed juice I've been feeding it. Right here we have our kale in the middle and then we have on the sides we have broccoli. I'm not sure how my broccoli is doing. It's all growing, but once again, I've learned a lot about doing seed blocks. Let me explain. So the way I did seed blocks early on in the season is as soon as they came up and they looked like they had their first couple leaves on, I'd plant them. Just figured they'll be fine. Well, I think I did it a little too quick. And what I found out is if I just wait a little longer, give them another maybe week after they come up and they get those first couple leaves, let them get established a little bit more, they do so much better when I transplant them. I know it sounds very simple, obvious, like, hey, just wait a little longer. But you know what? Sometimes you have to experiment. You have to figure it out for yourself. In this bed, we have a bunch of different stuff. We have a bunch of 45-day cabbage right in here. This is all 45-day cabbage. There's a little patch right here. On the edge right there, we have a bunch of turnips. And at the end, right down there, we have Swiss chard. And right here, we have fennel, and it is doing very good. I waited until it really started to sprout, and then I put it in. Over here, I have turnips. I put them in, and I put them in too early, and they really struggled. I lost about half of them. Like I said, I've learned a lot. All right, behind me right here, we have a bunch of radishes, and on this side, we have a bunch of radishes, and they're doing really good. They're looking really good. I'm really happy with them. I can't really complain. One of the things that didn't work out very great in the beginning of the season, but seems to be doing really good, are my cucumbers. My cucumbers really seem to be taking off. As you can see, they are looking really good. So these along here are all canning cucumbers right here in the middle, and those are doing pretty good. All right, tomatoes. My tomato plants are doing much, much better. And I figured out a lot of my problems. We still have a couple that are a little struggling like this one, but I know what the problem is. And a lot of them are doing much better. Matter of fact, they need to get pruned. I didn't prune them this week yet. But they're doing really good. And here are a couple more cucumbers. These are more salad type of cucumbers. And at the end are my peppers. So far, I am not going to call myself the pepper king. I am struggling to deal with my peppers. They are growing, and I think they're going to be okay. You know, you might ask, why is this a question? Is, are they going to be okay? Remember, I'm doing everything different this year than I've done in the past. In the past, I just planted into the dirt, fought back the weeds, and got a garden. This year we came and put in 6 inches of mulch, put in wood chip in the middle. We had our mulch, the pH level was way too low. That slowed everything and stunted everything. Basically lost all the jump start that we would have had from the greenhouse. And on top of that, I made another mistake. This happened probably about a month and a half ago, and I've been trying to figure out if it was really how it was affecting me, but I did some tests and it is affecting me. Here's the mistake I made. I have clay underneath this. This whole property is covered in clay. And then I put compost on top. Compost is really good at holding moisture in clay. Clay does not drain very well. So one evening I got busy and I left my watering system on for way too long. And I am still dealing with that now. Now, I've dealt with it and fixed a lot of the problem. And the way that I've done that is I'm only doing top-down watering. The other thing I've done is I've gone around the base. The tomatoes are the ones that really got affected by this. I've gone around the base of the tomatoes and I've just loosened up all the compost, not right underneath. I'll show you. What I did is I came in and all around, about a foot around, I just loosened up all the compost, just kind of stirred it up. Didn't flip it, I just stirred it with my fingers. The idea is to loosen it up so that way it's not as compact and it's allowing the air and stuff to get in there and dry it out, and it's actually helped a lot. Once again, I'm learning. This is all a process. It's a little painful at times, especially when I'm actually trying to grow food. But the great part is about this whole process is right now, I don't have a CSA. I'm not going to the market. This is me figuring out how to grow in a greenhouse. And the pressure is just my own pressure. It's not the pressure of trying to feed my family or the pressure of trying to pay the bills. It's just me enjoying growing and learning, hopefully, with you guys. All right, let's look at the onions, because the onions have me completely confused. I don't really understand why some of my onions seem to be a little bit struggling. They're doing something. They are growing. But then I have these monsters just next to them that's what I want. I want them all to look like that. But, oh, by the way, we have another culprit that has popped up in my garden, and I actually can see the effects of it right now. And I'll tell you how I'm dealing with it. So this is starting to pop up, and it only popped up right here in my beets. Of course, I've struggled so hard to get these beets to really take off, and now I have leaf miners. And these leaf miners, well, if you don't pinch off the leaf and get rid of it, they will continue to affect every other leaf around them and eventually really do a lot of damage. So far as you can see, I've taken off a bunch of leaves on some of these where we've had that problem. This seems to be the only leaf today. Now, when it comes to my snow peas, what is happening in my snow peas? Well, my snow peas are doing decent for the ones that are doing decent. A lot of them are just struggling. I think it might have to do with my pH, but let's take a nibble and see how these are doing. I've never had a fresh snow pea. Ever. This is the first fresh snow pea I've ever had. That may very well possibly be the most joyful thing I've had all day. That's amazing. I would have never guessed. That is so sweet and delicious. I would have never guessed. I didn't know what to expect when I took a bite of that. I'll tell you right now, what I didn't expect was that sweet, delicious pea. That was so stinking good. The boys are right over there, and I'm not going to tell them. They're going to find out when they watch the video that snow peas are absolutely delicious and sweet. I'm going to have to grow some more of them. Sorry, that was just pure enjoyment right there. We're going to head down and look at the potatoes, and then I'm going to show you the weed juice, where it's at. I'll show you how I made it. There'll be a couple shirt changes in there. Don't worry about it. Part of what I used in it is what I have right here. comfrey. Now, some people, they classify this as a weed. I'm there, I get it, I totally understand, but I have about 45 little containers here of comfrey right here on the side. Excuse the mess over there on that table. That's just me trying to do things. Comfrey. This comfrey, I'm growing because I want to use comfrey in the future, and I want to have a good source of it. I don't want to just go around the property and just pick it up. Okay, we are over with our potatoes. And as you can see, they're doing good. I'm really happy with them. So these are red Pontiacs, and these are russets. The red Pontiacs will probably be coming out in the next 3 weeks or so. They're about ready at the end of June. That's when they would have been pretty ready to harvest. And I'm happy with them. And actually, I've been feeding them some weed juice as well. So they've been doing really good. Now, weed juice is not super potent. It's something that you feed about once a week. It's a liquid fertilizer. And so because it's a liquid fertilizer, it's not going to have that slow release that a pelletized fertilizer will have. So we go along and we spray it at the bottom of the plant. I want to specify, you want to be careful with young plants and with plants that are going to be sitting in the sun. I made the mistake one day and I came through and I just sprayed the plants and I burned some leaves on some of my plants. So since then, what we've been doing is we've been going in and we spray it around the bottom and then we water the plants. We're also not putting it in straight. The reason for not putting it in straight, well, it should be watered down. I've heard recommendations of watering it down 200 to 1, 500 to 1. I think that's probably for more if you're injecting it into your water system, but can't find anything exact. I've found that about a 10 to 1 has worked pretty good for us, but you have to be really careful with young plants, the amount that you apply, because you can burn their roots. So before I show you what's in the barrels, I'm going to show you how we make our weed juice. It's really straightforward, not too complicated. The only problem would be is if you don't have nettles or if you don't have comfrey on your property. Here next to Herman's cabin is this whole entire area of nothing but stingy nettle. The other plant we're going to be using is comfrey, and this is comfrey right here, and we have a lot of it around here. I actually have a lot of starts. I dig up the root systems, I break a little piece off, and I put it in a pot and I start it. The reason for doing that is comfrey is amazing in the way that it sheds its matter, its leaf matter, and that ends up building up really good soil. It's great for your soil. So the other thing about comfrey that people don't often know is you can actually use it along, like as a hedge, as a small hedge along grass. So let's say you're going to have a garden area and you want a hard break between the grass and your mulch or whatever. If you plant comfrey along there, the comfrey root and the plant will actually keep the grasses from crossing over if you plant it in a dense enough stand. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a scythe to harvest the stingy nettle. The reason why is I really don't want to be grabbing the stingy nettle. I don't have the amazing calluses and tough hands Herman has, because Herman will reach in and he just grabs the stingy nettle and he will, and he will sit there and he'll crush it down with his hands and then he'll let it seep in water and create a tea out of it. I think that's amazing, but I don't have Herman's hands, so we're going to use a scythe. We're going to go in, we're going to cut some of it down, then I'll put some gloves on, and we'll put it in a 55-gallon drum. So right here next to Herman's cabin is a huge comfrey plant. I mean, this is pretty good size. We're just gonna cut the leaves off, not all of them. We're gonna cut the inside leaves off. There you go. So we'll just grab basically the middle of the plant, put that in. We'll do the same thing. There's actually a couple plants here. We'll do that too. And we won't have killed the plant, but we will have harvested a good amount of comfrey. And this isn't the only plant. We have a huge plant down by where we planted the figs. Let's go take a look. That's a 2-foot tall plant. That one's almost 3 feet tall because it's farther down in that ravine a little. So let's harvest some of this, and we have almost a full 5-gallon bucket here. So we should have more than enough. All right, let's add the comfrey to our 55-gallon drum of nettles. Now, the last ingredient we need to start making our fertilizer for next year is leaf mold. So let's go find a spot where we have a big maple or oak. Now, we have some big maples and oaks right here, but everything underneath them is too cleaned up. So we need to go find somewhere where we have a lot of leaves built up and we can find some good leaf mold. All right, so Herman's cabin's right up there. I walk back in these woods here, and there is this big, massive maple. I'll show you. It's actually really gnarly looking, which is actually really beautiful. I'll show you. All right, so this is this big, beautiful maple. Yeah, it's a cool old tree, but this is big enough to potentially have some nice pockets of leaves underneath of it that will have leaf mold in there. I kind of like this spot right here. It's on the downhill side of the tree. And the reason why I want the downhill side of the tree is because it means it's going to protect it from stuff being washed away. So this is exactly what we want right here. This is the nice broken down leaves from multiple seasons. You can see the leaf matter there. This is exactly what we are looking for. So we're going to take a nice big chunk of this with us, and we'll go put it in our 55-gallon drum. So this is it. This is what it looks like. We're going to add that to our 55-gallon drum. Now, I know this is starting to look like a mythical, like, witch's brew. While this is a little different than most of the things I typically do, I figured I'd give it a try because part of growing natural, good, healthy vegetables is trying new methods, things that other people have done and have found that worked for them. So we're gonna go put this in a sunny place because from what I understand, allowing it to get some sun and to really bake is really good. So we're gonna find a good spot where we can put it. It won't look bad. I think I have a perfect spot. So we are going to do it behind Herman's old starter greenhouse structure. All right, let's start filling this up. What? I got a kink in my hose. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. We started weed juice. I want to show you what the weed juice looks like now, as it's been a few weeks. This is like fine wine right here. Oh, look at that. Ooh, oh yeah, that's ripe. Just be glad you don't have smell-o-vision. That is ripe. Oh man, that is ripe. The material I stuck in here has really broken down because when I put this in here, it was stuffed full. I mean, like, it was crammed when I was finished. When I was all said and done, it was crammed full. I couldn't get any more in it. And now it feels like I could put another half a barrel in there. Well, it smells just like it looks. So I'm going to put the lid back on and let this brew for, well, a couple more weeks or so before I open it up and give it a stir again. All right, I have 2 sets of weed juice here. Let me show you what we have, and I'll show you the whole process. We have in barrel number 1, this is about 3.5 months old. In barrel number 2, this is about 3 weeks old. So there you go. Now, if you could smell it, it smells like a fertilizer, which is really the point. Now, I'm going to show you what it looks like once I kind of break this crust. All right, so once I break this crust, okay, you can see it's kind of like lemonade-y kind of looking. Now, I'm going to stir this all up, and we're going to see that in the bottom of this, there is a bunch of comfrey and nettles still there. There you go. So we just pulled up all the comfrey and nettles, and now when you mix this up, it smells like a very, very sick cow. It is absolutely disgusting smelling. I'm just going to let you know that right now. So I mix this about once a week. I come in and mix it, and I usually don't mix it and then try to use it because you'll get a bunch of junk into your pump sprayer if you're using a pump sprayer. So that's why I have this little cheesecloth bag. What I do is I just drop this in my pump sprayer, and then I use my little mug. I put 4 mugs to a 1.5 gallon pump sprayer. So it's about somewhere right around 10 to 1. Not being too exact. So this is our second barrel, and this is much younger. Okay, I'm just gonna pull the crust back. You can see that it's not quite as creamy. And I'll use the mug, do the same thing I did before. You can see this is much more on the green kind of look. It's also got a different smell to it. But once you stir it, and you can see there's a lot of nettles in here. There's a lot of comfrey too, but there's a lot of really mature nettles. I had a whole entire nettle patch down at our place, down at our home farm, and I pulled them all out, brought them up. And this is much more ripe smelling. So now that you've seen how we are making our weed juice, I'm really happy. I thought this was all a bunch of malarkey, but I figured it was worth trying. And I'm gonna say I've seen a difference in our plants. I do this once a week and they do great. A great example of that is our celery. Our celery went from looking, okay, to looking phenomenal and absolutely going gangbusters. Our potatoes, the same way. Saw some of our potatoes, they looked good, but then I applied some of this and I started doing it on a weekly basis. It seems to really be helping a lot. And if something's working, well, I figured I'd share it, especially since I've had so many things happen this year so far. All right, before we go, I want to show you something amazing. This is the area that we came in. It was completely overgrown. And I came in and we put oats in here as a cover crop. There's some rye in here as well, but most of it's oats. A little bit of wheat. Well, as you can see, the stand is doing really good. Now, is it as full as it could have been? No, I probably was a little light on the seed. I thought I had enough seed put down. I also think I fed some of the local creatures, which, well, I'm not too broken up about, to be quite honest. I don't mind feeding the little creatures around. As a matter of fact, when I mowed, I put a lot of this fresh seed, just like this stuff right here, right down on the ground. So a lot of the critters around here are going to have plenty of seed to gobble up. And this is actually a Paul's naked oat. Now over in the other area, we do have rye and we have wheat. I don't see any wheat in here. I know I put some in here, but I'm not seeing any. Well, hello. Hey. Well, you're Klingon. Hey, you're Klingoff. Hi, Klingoff. How are you? Oh, you're done? All right. Well, you came and said hi. Do you want your belly scratched? Yeah. You're like a dog. You know that? You're not. Cats are not supposed to be like dogs. Is it my fault that you're like a dog because I treat you like a dog? I scratch you like a dog. I play with you like a dog. I expect you to be like a dog, but you're a cat. You look like a little panther. That's what you look like. Thank you guys so much for joining us on A Simple Life today.